Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, Make Up Your Own Mind. A lot of people, I've noticed, have a curious tendency to convince themselves of things without much outside prompting. It's not even subtle. They'll hold tightly to an idea, a belief, or a version of reality, and defend it like it's a deeply rooted truth. What fascinates me isn't the belief itself, but how effortlessly they seem to adopt it, how unwavering they become in its defense. Talk to 5 different people about the same issue, and you'll probably end up with 5 conflicting viewpoints. These aren't just slight differences. They're complete rewrites of reality, molded to fit whatever conclusion someone's already arrived at. It's like everyone's walking around with their own internal news channel, broadcasting carefully tailored opinions that align with their preferences. There's this strange phenomenon where people, sometimes unconsciously, brainwash themselves, not in the cinematic way with flashing lights and subliminal messages, but slowly, methodically, through repeated exposure to their chosen beliefs. They soak in familiar sources, read similar narratives, and before long, they've manufactured a worldview that feels utterly unshakable. The differences in opinion aren't just intellectual, they're deeply emotional. You can present the same set of facts to 2 individuals, and each will interpret those facts in radically different ways. One sees reason for celebration, the other sees evidence of catastrophe. It's all colored by internal bias, filtered through selective perception. Take Barack Obama, for instance. For some, he represents hope, progress, and a landmark moment in modern history. They see him as a brilliant leader, articulate, dignified, and genuinely trying to bring people together. They praise his presidency, highlight his accomplishments, and speak about him with admiration. Then there are those who see him in a completely different light. They say he was ineffective, overly polished, a disappointment to certain communities. They critique his decisions, question his motives, and paint him as nothing more than a symbol of failed promises. It's the same man, the same presidency, but interpreted through vastly different lenses. That's the power of confirmation bias. People seek out information that validates what they already believe. They curate their online experience, follow media sources that echo their thoughts, and dismiss anything that challenges their stance. It becomes an echo chamber, one that amplifies conviction and silences doubt. This process reinforces not just opinions, but identities. Supporting a figure or an idea becomes personal. It's not just about politics or policy. It's about belonging, about being right, about feeling affirmed. The result? Even minor disagreements can feel existential, like an attack not just on a viewpoint, but on one's entire worldview. It's funny how people make up their minds and then build fortresses around those decisions. You try to present an alternative perspective, and it's met with defensiveness or complete dismissal. The openness to reconsider, to reevaluate, it's rare. I've had conversations where I share something I genuinely believe to be true, only to meet resistance, skepticism, or outright rejection. It's not that I expect agreement, but the unwillingness to even explore possibilities can be disheartening. Sometimes, it feels like people don't want truth. They want comfort. Historical narratives are another space where this shows up. Take Adolf Hitler, universally condemned for the atrocities he orchestrated, and rightly so. His actions during World War II caused immeasurable suffering and marked some of history's darkest chapters. That should be undisputed. But what gets ignored is how history sometimes oversimplifies complex individuals. Before his rise to infamy, Hitler was seen by many in his country as a skilled orator, a strategic leader, and a symbol of national resurgence. He pulled Germany out of an economic collapse. Those traits, his charisma, intelligence, and ability to mobilize, get lost in our moral condemnation. It's important to acknowledge that recognizing those early qualities doesn't excuse his later horrors. Not at all. But what I find troubling is how quickly we dismiss nuance. It's as though acknowledging complexity somehow diminishes our moral stance. It doesn't. It strengthens it. People often don't want to hear that someone they consider evil had redeeming or impressive qualities. They cling to the narrative that simplifies everything into good and bad, right and wrong. But the truth isn't binary. Humans are layered, flawed, and contradictory. And yet, we seem intent on flattening those layers. Public figures become caricatures, heroes or villains. There's little room for ambiguity, and even less for personal growth. Once someone is labeled, that label sticks. Forever. It's the same with celebrities. My mom, for instance, made up her mind about certain public figures. She'd say someone was evil, manipulative, even dangerous. When I'd ask why, she'd point to rumors or headlines that aligned with her worldview. But then I'd talk to someone else who absolutely adored that same celebrity and had evidence of charitable work, kindness, and integrity. I remember Oprah Winfrey specifically. My mom used to adore her, watched her show religiously, admired her wisdom, and quoted her frequently. But later on, she became critical of Oprah, believing she was involved in shady practices. The shift was stark. Same person, same life story, but my mom's opinion changed based on what she chose to believe. It makes you wonder how malleable our perceptions truly are, how easily we shape them, reshape them, and then forget we ever believed anything else. And once we've made up our minds, that's usually it. Few go back to revisit their beliefs. Fewer still acknowledge when they've changed. This rigidity is what I find most disheartening. The world isn't static. Our understanding evolves, but so many people resist that evolution, preferring certainty over curiosity. It's safer that way, I guess. Less messy. When I make these reflections, they're not always for others. A lot of the time, I'm just talking to myself, trying to clarify my own thoughts, trying to find patterns in the chaos of opinions and beliefs. It's therapeutic in a way, this act of philosophizing out loud. What I've come to realize is that there's no singular truth in matters of preference. When it comes to liking someone, supporting a cause, or believing in an idea, it's personal, subjective. There's no absolute right, just differing perspectives. I'm not inherently better than someone because I support one political figure over another, just like I'm not wiser because I prefer pizza over sushi. Preferences aren't moral declarations, they're just tastes. Beliefs, when unexamined, shouldn't become battlegrounds. Earlier I mentioned Obama again, not to stir controversy but to highlight how subjective our views are. If I dislike him, that's not a declaration of superiority. It's just a personal take. And someone else liking him doesn't make them foolish. It makes them different. The issue arises when people speak as if their opinions are facts, that their beliefs are not just valid, but universally true. That kind of certainty can be dangerous. It shuts down dialogue, prevents growth, and isolates us from each other. Everyone's belief system is shaped by 1,000 factors: upbringing, culture, exposure, emotion. None of it is objective, and recognizing that should make us more compassionate, not more combative. So believe what you want. Think how you want. But don't mistake opinion for truth. Don't forget that your brain is capable of tricking itself into certainty. And that's okay, as long as you stay curious enough to question it sometimes. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moors October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.